Okay.
We're including banter today, so
Okay. There we go.
I just want. All right, so first motherfucking Alphabet Mafia of 2023. I decided to give everybody January off because, I mean, honestly, outside of just the pertinent details that have now changed once again, which actually is kind of good we didn't have that meeting. It's a new year. We've learned lessons. We're doing a brand new change for Alphabet Mafia, mainly because YouTube is being draconian as all get out. But
Yep. I hate it.
yeah,
Can't
can't
even
solve it.
can't even say the N word in peace without being.
Can't fight the one.
Actually, you can't. So, here's the new rollout for all of our Lily fans. What you're gonna see tonight is the pre-show banter, which is important to remember for that. Just to hold that in your head. We're gonna throw it in this time so you get a taste of what we do beforehand. But so, because YouTube has rolled out its draconian policies, Alphabet Mafia's old channel was basically shut down. I couldn't do anything to it. I went in there to go upload one of the videos we shot with Asher in October. Couldn't get it. Literally, the only thing I could do was either delete my channel or like delete my videos or submit an appeal. So I submitted an appeal. YouTube messages me back and says, "Oh yeah, you have a violation on your account." Doesn't tell me what video, doesn't tell me what the thing is, just that I have a violation. Okay. So I go through my videos, look at them all, can't figure out what it is. Go back, notice just today or just a few days back that the Rob Halford video, as of January 2nd, had a copyright claim on it by what is essentially, it turns out it's a bot company. It's one of those bots that like mass flags any videos. And they mass flagged us because we were talking about Rob Halford, which is under the Judas Priest moniker. So basically, it was a bot doing a false flag for a company that doesn't even know we did the video. So I've
Excellent.
deleted that. Right, I've deleted that video. We will put it back up later under different tags so it doesn't trigger the bot. We should be good on that one. Piece of piss.
Ooh boy, we should be. Should be. Should be. Maybe.
So
Possibly.
benefit. We don't have to start the channel over from scratch because now that I took that off, as soon as I deleted it, restarted my computer when I was doing my cyberware reinstall, everything worked. So, crisis averted. Alphabet Mafia is still on the Alphabet Mafia channel.
God damn, I still need to fix my yay video. Sorry, my brain just does like
Is your Yay video still
it's
down?
still I like I tried to repeal it once. They denied me that because they hate me. And I didn't even try it again. Like I stopped. Maybe the whole thing has cooled down recently, but you know, I'll probably re-upload it actually and see what
Okay.
happens.
Yeah. So, that's taken care of. Piece of piss. For our viewers, I wasn't able to give any videos up between November and December because November I was out with pretty much November, mid of November into December. Me and my brother were moving into our new house, which was we're gonna actually make a studio in that, so you won't have this weird echo that you have in my apartment right now. We're actually gonna make a studio. When he's gonna open up his YouTube channel, we'll have him on for a few episodes to do some stuff. So there's that. We're gonna add a few more cast members to it. So it's going to be Alphabet Mafia with a professional studio. I won't be shooting off my laptop. I'm going to put in some money to actually get my own cash to get like a streaming setup, multi-monitor, so we can actually do a lot more efficient stuff, which will go into our next part. So that's I was completely done with rheumatic with a chest infection. I had a lung infection, which is why I sounded like, "Hey there, smooth skin, you want to buy some fucking with a few bottles?"
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I sound that way. So that's completely cleared out my system. Also helped that I quit smoking. I'm now, as of today, I'm about a year and 13 days clean of cigarettes, cut and cold turkey.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Proud of you.
So way better. My voice will be way sounder. I've cut alcohol out a lot, although I am sitting here having a bit of rum because it helps me with my social anxiety on performance. So we'll be doing clean off drugs, clean off alcohol, getting back into working out. So new year, new life, been going pretty well, getting healthier, getting more back into things. Better job, better life. So with that in mind, I figured, okay, let's start making some Alphabet Mafia. YouTube then drops its draconian policies: no swearing within 7 seconds of the video, no dropping excessive swearing, no content that could be deemed inappropriate for children. So our show is just like, well, into the dustbin of shit it goes. So I was like, you know what? We do this channel. It's got a lot of people jumping on it. We're getting some big name interviews. let's make a Patreon. The Patreon is going to be cut up, and this is where I got Alphabet Mafia, the little title card you see. That is now trademarked under me. My cousin signed the paperwork. I'm trying to get us into actually be a business so we can start making some motherfucking money.
Hell
I
yeah,
will
just
be.
like Michael Bay said.
Yep. I of course will be a pimp named Slickback, a pimp named the King of Feathers, and
Hell
you'll be
yeah.
my bitch. You'll be my bitches. Bitches, we gotta make some motherfucking money.
I'm a Jarl.
A pimp name's motherfucking King of Feathers.
A pimp named Slickback would put a lot of things over a hoe. A turkey sandwich with just a little bit of tomato? Absolutely. A new pair of Nikes? Without a doubt. But a homie over a hoe? Man, that's some gay shit. So pimp named
That's some
Slickback.
gay shit.
So how this is gonna work with our Patreon is we're gonna cut the money in four ways. When we get the money in, Callan will get a quarter, Twisty will get a quarter, I will get a quarter, and then a quarter of that will go into basically our O fund. That's going to be for taxes, for paying for upkeep of the studio,
Yeah,
for transitional surgeries as we need them, buying
me
Twisty a
especially.
microphone. Yeah, buying Twisty a microphone, buying Twisty bottom surgery or whatever they need,
Yep.
buying Callan, I don't know, a top hat and a pair of legs because they're a snake.
Yeah.
Um,
God took away your legs, and now you need to claim them back.
buying the money will go to supporting Callan's excessive and rather hedonistic habit of railing a bunch of the twinks that come to her house and deliver her newspaper, and then she pulls out the strap. The upkeep of a business, right?
You know, basic necessities.
I'm thinking, how are we gonna make the Patreon setup? Well, I didn't want to do like the weird like e-girls that are like, for $2 you get a picture of my feet. For $4 you get a picture of my armpits.
Hmm.
For $6 I'll show you a picture of the turd I dropped in the morning. No, that's bullshit. Very simple monetization. Here's how it fucking works. For $3 a month, for $3 you get the
Three
rank of
dollars.
$3 you're gonna be the rank of family. You get to join Alphabet Mafia under Don Baldioni Calzone's Alphabet Mafia. $3 you're gonna get access to episodes a week early, uncensored. You get access to the pre-show banter that I usually cut out of episodes because it's not important. So you're guaranteed at least like 30 minutes of pre-show banter of us just saying weird shit and me being racist. So if you guys want to catch me being racist,
Hey,
now's the time. You have like $3 for it.
you want a clip chip? Then you gotta pay for that, right, my friend?
You want a
Yeah.
clip chip? You gotta pay some.
Also, don't forget about the misogyny.
Oh yes, 100%.
Can't forget about
You
that.
want to see a white guy yelling at some trans women and calling them bitches? That's where you're gonna do it. All right.
You know,
You
maybe
also
I am.
get access to voting on episodes. We're gonna put out a list of topics to do that month, or at least I will. YouTube can put a list of topics out if you wish, and work from there. And that's gonna be vote on episodes. So a bunch of people say, "Hey, we want to hear about Huey Newton." God damn it! That's the episode we send out next. You get access to the uncensored shows a week early. So basically, I'm completely given up on YouTube. YouTube's going out the window. I have the Patreon. We're gonna start moving our stuff onto SoundCloud, onto Spotify, onto whatever the Apple thing is.
Apple
YouTube is
thing.
YouTube is basically we're gonna sanitize the fuck out of it. I don't have my electric guitar here, but I have my electric guitar is gonna make some guitar riff noises. So when we swear, when we say words that are naughty for the YouTube one, I'm gonna drop that in there.
Naughty.
Like the word variants.
Yeah, it's gonna be like Metalocalypse. We'll just be like, what the is that? So if you want to find out if I said also we'll be cutting out a lot of the questionable segments for YouTube. So it's not like you're just getting us uncensored. There's also gonna be like us listening to music or us watching a movie. Can't put it up on YouTube. Obviously, you'll get access to that. You're gonna get access to. We're considering. I'm considering doing a Discord, but I think there's enough Discords floating around talking about gay shit. It's important. But Patreon competitions, which that money I said about before, the extra quarter that goes into the company pocket. Occasionally, we'll throw together some Patreon competitions. Y'all can make some money as our patrons, as well as potential live access. I have been told we should do some live stream content, so I might do some live stream content.
I wouldn't be opposed to that.
Yeah, and then make some money off that. Of course, if you join the live stream, spend some money. So that's the $3 rate. That's the family. That's
The
like when you're an
family.
associate. Yeah, when you're an associate. For $5 a month, $5 less than the price of a motherfucking burger at McDonald's. Right? We will feed you. We will feed you with better content than McDonald's. We will
Yay!
give you everything
Like
we
feeding my
said
children.
before. Everything we said before. All that shit at the $3 level. Plus a month end episode where we go over all a bunch of gay shit, gay history topics, gay news stuff from that day. We're basically gonna go to like Pink News and Vox and Jezebel, curate some stuff, and we're gonna pick the shit, possibly with a Patreon guest. That's for month end. You get that. You get a special patrons only episode. You get put into a monthly raffle to run your own episode.
Hell yeah.
As the patron can tell us within reason. We're not going to do a full episode on like Andrew Tate because he's not. I mean, while he is a fan, he is not gay.
True. Absolutely true. I mean, you hit the nail right on the head with that one.
If you want an episode on like Ted Bundy or whatever, or was it Dahmer? Dahmer. Do you want an episode on Dahmer because you're a white chick with no personality and think true crime makes you interesting?
And also
If
because
you
I'm
pay
a criminologist here. Like I'm actually getting my master's in criminology.
Yeah.
You pay us $5 a month. There's a chance you could get that video made yourself, and you get to be on the show running it with us. So there's that.
It'll be a fun experience for everybody.
You will also get a discount code on merch. Once the merch store goes live, I'm finishing up a few of those contracts. We're gonna get some t-shirts. We're going to be looking at some keychains and some artwork, and we're potentially looking at some bongs.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Bongs.
Hear that.
So, there's that. You also, on the voting for the month with $5, your vote counts for 2. Because as the $5 tier, you look consigliere. We're not saying we're not democratic. We're just saying that some people's vote counts for 2.
You know?
Wouldn't they be a made person instead of a consigliere?
Nah, because the made man is a misogynistic term that excludes women and non-binary people. Come on, Callan, don't be a bigot.
Sounds kind of base to me. I don't know what you. Come on.
Callan, you know what? There could be made women too, and there could be made big hoes and non-binary hoes.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Made person.
Look, we're criminals, but we're not bigots.
Chance for promotion. Let's say you don't want to do the show, but maybe you have an organization, a charity, or a YouTube channel you want us to watch your shit, give you a good ball washing, treat you as it tastes like ground beef and rainbows. All right, we'll do that for you for $5 a month. You enter the raffle. That's the patron. I'd appreciate if you go for the $3 tier. I was gonna drop it down to the $1 and the $3 tier because I know money's tight for a lot of people. Patreon won't let me do a $1 tier or a free tier. I was gonna include a free tier.
Free tier.
But unfortunately, it's not a thing. There will be free access if you just want the shows and you just want the movie reviews. Those will be out for free, but patrons get them first. Patrons get to vote on movies, stuff like that.
Because patrons are special.
If you just want to watch the videos and you don't want to deal with all the community posts and voting, you're just interested in our content and watching it and engaging with it, that'll be on the free tier. Everything else comes with some money. Try to make it as best I can. If Patreon changes things and allows me a $1 tier, do expect those prices to drop. But I'm not going to make like another tier beyond that because this is not supposed to be for profit. But that's the way the world is going. So, also on things, I know I've been pretty lengthy about this. We're going to start dropping the videos down. I shared basically a format thing with my 2 hosts. That's going to be applicable to our guests. So if you want to do a video, we're going to keep it down to like a half hour or 45 minutes because a lot of you have written me and said, Kielmandra, you talk too much. Shut the fuck up.
Damn.
So literally someone said like, Rob Halford, I sent the video we did to his Instagram and he's like, oh, I really liked the video. It was really cool. I'm glad so many young people appreciate me, but the host is kind of rude and talks too much.
Well, that's just a given. Sorry, my friends.
So I'll be working on that on my end. I know I've been pretty lengthy here, but it's my episode. So we're going to cut
Exactly.
the videos down to like a watch them on YouTube and give YouTube your fucking, you're probably gonna get less than that. But half hour to an hour is what we're shooting for episodes now. Cutting out a lot. So that's that. So that going forward, that's our new monetization model. You'll have to be patient with me while I finish setting a few things up. All the information will be in the down there section. Going to be doing a lot more editing, media stuff, so there's something to look at. Because a lot of you have told me, so you all lied to me. First, you told me, yeah, you just want to listen to stuff. Then you turn around and you're like, actually, we kind of like some media and to see the pictures you're taking of shit.
Whoa. Oh,
Can
picky. Really picky.
fucking play.
Flimsy little. I won't say anything. I won't say anything.
Well, see, now we're charging for this stuff. So now we can afford to be picky. We can raise the production value. You give us the cash, we won't break your legs.
That's just the way of the mafia. Come on. There's a price for democracy these days.
Yeah.
That's right. Democracy isn't free.
All right. So
We're an
now that's
oligarchy here.
Got a license for that democracy?
Well, yeah, unlicensed democracy. Now I'm gonna share my screen. Now you guys, or you all can look at it. Obviously, when we do this properly, I'll have a thingy.
Thingy bababber.
So it's February, right? We're in Black History Month.
It's-
I figured. Well, it's January when we're shooting this, but it's gonna be.
It will be. It will be.
Yeah, it will be. All right, and I know it's Black History Month. You know, we got to talk about famous black people, right? Problem is everybody always talks about Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Rosa Parks. They never really get into the nitty and the gritty. They never really get into the more questionable figures because it's mostly Black History Month is controlled by white people.
Exactly.
So enter in
Hate them all.
a double whammy tonight. We got a gay black dude who was a civil rights leader, a communist, an agitator,
Commies.
pacifist, who eventually became a neocon.
Lovely.
If that makes sense.
Lovely.
I introduce to you everybody as soon as my phone loads either Bayard, or Bayard Rustin. Come on, Google. Nope.
Google? These. Don't do these.
Well, this is getting cut.
Oof. It'd be like that. Is your Google being slow?
No, Google isn't being slow. It's just me. I'm the bringing up Google Images is being slow.
Oh. Well.
Oh, dog.
All right, let's get a picture here. I know Wikipedia the show. I had to read this guy's book. I'm gonna be. I'm.
You read his book? Oh boy.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. This is a dude. So Twisty, you'll be doing Huey Newton, but I appreciate Malcolm X and Huey Newton in the civil rights movement a lot more than I appreciate.
Yeah, those two are kind of like. There's some questionable things about both of them, to be honest with you. I know, like, there was some anti Semitism with Malcolm X, but, like, yeah.
Okay, there was anti-Semitism with Karl Marx. There's anti-Semitism with like everybody.
Jeez. Everyone's anti Semitic.
At this point in time, if the anti-Semitism isn't literally let's just go kill the Jews, I'm like, you know what? I'm excited. At this point in time, the level of anti-Semitism that's in historical movements, you just have to be like, all right, look, of all the shit this guy did, where does anti-Semitism rank? Now with Bayard Rustin, he wasn't anti-Semitic, thank Christ. He was just anti-black.
What? Alright, cool. Wonderful.
Alright, well this video ain't loading, so we're just gonna cut that, so...
Well, you gotta be bigot of some form, you know?
Bayard Rustin, born March 17th, 1912, was an African-American civil rights leader, though it should be civil rights organizer, socialist, pacifist, communist, and close advisor to Dr. King. If there's any other titles that I'm aware of, please don't tell me about them, because this number of titles already makes me feel pretty unaccomplished in my life.
Oh, damn.
Bayard attended University of New York with his partner, quote unquote life partner, Davis Platt during the 1940s, went on to be a civil rights organizer, organizing many of the famous, civil protests, everything from the March on Washington in 1951 to the Freedom Riders to the Southern Christian Leadership Confederacy to the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom to the Crusade of Friendship, organized and established the In Friendship Cause. He went to University of New York with his partner David Platt, life partner, quote unquote, during the 1940s. And pretty much every single civil rights thing this guy worked on. If it was a civil rights cause, he organized it. March on Washington, the 1941 one. Later, the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. Later, the March on Washington for Life. The Freedom Rides, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, the Southern Confederacy Christian Leadership Conference, the American Jewish League, the In Friendship League, the American Jewish Congress, the Montgomery bus boycotts, the Crusade for Freedom, 1945, a bunch of unionist movement. Women, basically, if it's a movement that happened for civil rights between 1941 and 1977, this dude probably was behind organizing it or really close. Every single one of MLK's organizations or marches, he helped plan. Malcolm X, at least 3 of him that I can citate for certain, he organized. Another 7 that he was on planning committees for. Huey Newton, he had a brief correspondence with him. Of course, it was towards the end of his life, so he really wasn't doing much. And later, he would go on to form Philip Randolph Institute to help black unions integrate with all white unions. Although this would unfortunately become anti-union in his stance. Um,
Jesus.
yeah, but I mean, this dude, 1970s, 1980s, he would go on to become a humanitarian, basically a humanitarian exarch for good faith missions to Vietnam and Cambodia. Arguably, the reason why Vietnam has the relationship it does with the West, with as far as corporations go, not as far as politics, is because of Bayard Rustin. Was big in advocating for refugees from Vietnam and education for them, and is considered by the North Vietnamese government at the time an ambassador of friendship, and to the Chinese Communist Party was a guest of honor and friendship with the West. He died in 1987 on his humanitarian trip to Haiti. He also did work with Haiti and the Caribbean. So
Interesting.
yeah, so I'm sitting here thinking, how the fuck can this guy be around Malcolm X, Huey Newton, Ella Fitzgerald, Rosa Parks, MLK, the North Vietnamese, the Cambodians, Ronald Reagan, and
What?
everybody else. Yes, and we've never heard of him. Twisty, why do you think that is?
White people. That's why. That is the best answer.
What part about him do you specifically think was unpalatable to history?
The color of his
Skin. Okay, Callan says skin color. What do you think, Twisty?
Um, a little bit too based for their taste.
It's
Every
because he's a gay communist.
Yeah, like I said, a little bit too based for their taste.
Pretty much, you boil it down. This guy was an openly gay man in the 1940s, so they didn't want to deal with him.
Like, I mean, the Black Panthers were very, very communist in what they did, and I can understand why they don't talk about them as much either.
Well, Malcolm X and Huey Newton, like I said, Huey Newton had a brief correspondence with him in 1975. Of course, that's towards the end of his life. He's doing humanitarian missions. The letter writing isn't going to be that robust, but I found numerous references in his book. He really liked Huey Newton, except for the violence policy. But he was like, Huey Newton is he's very erotic of Huey Newton. I mean, but all things considered, he likes Huey Newton. But the dude literally had relation. He talked with Eldridge Cleaver. In fact, the reason why he didn't like Eldridge Cleaver was Eldridge Cleaver was too sexualized. He sexualized white people too much. And I think it's
Hmm.
the problem you have with Eldridge Cleaver is that Eldridge Cleaver
Like,
is too sexual.
that's your problem with Eldritch? Okay, man. All right, buddy.
I can understand the white women. I can't understand why he wants to rape people, though. You really think it with his the violence, the killing people, the prison shit. That's fine, but just too sexual.
A little bit too sexual for me. Oh.
Maybe if Eldridge Cleaver pitched himself as penis power instead of power, it would have been a different thing. I don't know.
Hey, I don't know. Maybe he would have been all on board with that one. What?
Madasheen has done what a twist! And lo, the Madasheen rears its ugly head again. Um, I'm so glad we did an episode on them as our very first episode because they've just been a running meme with us.
Like they're everywhere now. It's just like, oh, of course, the Madison Society was the Reeds situation.
I'm smell a turd. Must be the Madashins.
Must be the Mad turds.
So despite this, I guess Madison Society and Huey Newton had some back and forths, and Bayard Rustin criticized Huey Newton for talking to them. Huey Newton wrote back like, "Dude, I don't want to deal with these crap monkeys anyways," and that kind of started their relationship. So the first relationship he had with Huey Newton was basically Bayard Rustin being like, "Yeah, you probably shouldn't talk to them white college boys," and Huey Newton's like, "Motherfucker, no."
Tell me something I don't know, brother.
So, I guess we'll start off early. Bayard Rustin, born 1912. Obviously, father, close family members died in World War One. This is arguably why he kind of viewed the world as an anti-war position. He's very active about pacifism. He's very aggressively pacifistic throughout much of his life. Basically, being what is essentially the seeing, not being old enough to really have comprehension of World War One, but growing up in a world where World War One veterans were all around him in New York and in Harlem specifically. So this is a kid who grew up at his childhood is steeped in the Harlem Renaissance and the Great Depression. Becomes a communist very early from a lot of his family members and community, which checks out. A lot of people who were in the Harlem Renaissance did agree with communism.
Yeah, communism was pretty base up until they demonized it. The Red Scare.
Yes. So he goes to college, right? Gets out, joins the Communist Party of the USA. About the same time, the Communist Party of the USA is. He gets in about the time that they're basically moving into the school unions, but also 1940s. World War II has completely broke out, and this has caused the CPUSA to basically pull all of its support and movements for the Communist Party in America to support Russia in the war against the fascist Reich, Nazi Germany. So Bayard Rustin, upon seeing the CPUSA sending all of its resources to fight the war effort, instead of helping him achieve civil rights, achieve
Achieve
desegregation,
segregation.
yeah, sorry,
A
achieve
lovely.
a better world. He's just kind of like, communists, because you guys like when we needed you most, you weren't here. Not understanding that there's a going on, and Hitler's a lot worse. Like as bad as American racism is, they're Nazis. Like they take priority, Rustin.
They're killing black people in Nazi Germany too. So like, come on now, don't even trip.
Jews, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
By 1940 they were out of black people to kill.
What has happened? We have ran as the Negro to persecute. This is bad.
Russia communism. Don't you understand? There's black people in America you need to worry about. Listen, Comrade Rustin, okay? We would love to talk about the black people in America. We do. Do you know who no longer has black people? The Rhineland.
Don't look at me.
Ironically enough, Bayard Rustin actually had a favorable view of the theory of nationalism as presented by Joseph Stalin.
Wow.
But supports Stalin's theory of nationalism.
What?
Quick, Callan, what was Stalin's system for achieving nationalism?
Oh, starving Ukrainians to death.
Forcing the Poles to the Katyń massacres, invading Norway and Sweden.
Yeah.
Sweden was based, but everything else, come on, Stalin.
You Twisty, shut up. I'm sick and tired of this Swedish apology crap. Audience, just the other day I kicked in the door while Twisty was pleasuring herself, and do you want to know what she was eating at the same time? Swedish fish. Now I can
Look.
masturbation, but Swedish fish are disgusting.
Oh, okay. Now hold on. Swedish fish aren't that great, but don't call them disgusting. That's offensive.
The only good Swede is the Swedish chef. Why? Because he's the derogatory stereotype made by Germans.
Damn.
Well, no, the good thing is that they're not Danish.
I actually like the Danes. Now I'll be sitting there watching the news like Swedish people. They'll put up a Swedish chef. Gordy bork bork, here the booty, there the booty. I'm like, now there's the one good Swede.
One of the good ones, I always say.
Upon finding out that the CPUSA effectively was folded, and also, small side note, the American Teachers Unions basically handed the CPUSA over to the federal government for the Communist Red Scare to not only achieve their view of what they preferred their unions to be, basically getting the government to get the Pinkertons off their ass, move the Pinkertons to attacking the communists. So Bayard Rustin was there for that. He was also there to see the American Teachers Union basically trade Southern schools over to the during the Jim Crow era. The Teachers Union pulled all their resources and support out of Southern schools because they refused to segregate fast enough, what is known as deliberate speed. And so Bayard Rustin was able to see the Communist Party's influence in the teachers' unions after and during the war basically caused black people to be left behind on two different occasions. So this one time, Bayard Rustin was a advent against the Communist Party of the United States. Not necessarily leaving his communist values, but very much dissuading communism and adopting the term of socialist. So that's kind of his thing.
Which
But
sounds less scary, somehow.
right, it also looks good for a country that is very, questionable of communists. It also kind of starts showing his neoconservative values, where it's like the communists aren't helping me, so let me turn my back on them to court power from another person. The socialist movement of America, which had a pretty hard leaning at the time, and then the white man can be like, look at this enlightened black man, even he knows communists are untrustworthy. So
Hey!
he was actually used as propaganda. That I found a newspaper article on microfiche that talked about Bayard Rustin basically throwing the Communist Party under the bus for abandoning him and black people, and it was basically used by McCarthy era newspapers to show like how communists can't be trusted. So
This.
Bayard
Well,
Rustin was also brought before the McCarthyism trial, and he testified. The testify I can't find a video of the testimony. I can find audio clips. It's on YouTube, or not YouTube, but it's in the National Archives. But basically, Bayard Rustin comes in, says, "Oh, have you ever had affiliation with the Communist Party?" He says, "Yeah, they're horrible. This is what they did," and then McCarthy basically lets them go. So,
okay.
um, there's not much there. I mean, it's literally like he answers two questions, and McCarthy lets him go.
Yeah.
But in 1941, in a last ditch gasp to give the Communist Party a foot bearing in America, Rustin um, goes with a couple of his classmates at alma mater to Roosevelt, FDR, during the March on Washington, and demands that Roosevelt desegregate the military so that if they desegregate, he can guarantee that him and hundreds of black communists will be verified in the war. Because they already have the Communist Party, hates Nazis, you're going to have a bunch of black volunteers, and if they say, hey, desegregate the military, these black troops can get guaranteed access into Europe, where they'll be closer to Russia, they can fight on the front. At this time, most African American troops are being sent to the Pacific, mainly as support troops, building runways, working heavy machinery, sandbags, engineering corps. I have an episode planned on that with the Dam 33rd and the colored fighting units on Iwo Jima and other groups, but we'll get that later.
Awesome.
This he actually plans with Roosevelt, because of him, signs Executive Order 8802, which is the Fair Employment Act, that bans discrimination based on race within military industrial complexes.
Damn, I thought it was just about to be across the board for a minute, but like I don't think that happens up until later on. Of course, it's always
No,
going to be step by step for like every little thing, but you know.
well, Roosevelt, despite his anti-Semitism, was big on desegregating the military. However, Roosevelt, German coming back. Roosevelt also had plans to desegregate, but he was basically like, "Hey, let's get the war figured out, and then we'll implement that plan as we go." He did manage to get like NCOs could be colored troops. Colored divisions could have their own troop leaders who were not white. There's plenty of majors and captains and lieutenants who became people of color. Truman is the one who very distinctly moved to like, okay, as of now, no more segregation in the army. So Truman basically just put in stone what Roosevelt had a soft appreciation for. But all that leads back to Bayard Rustin. He's basically one of the people that caused the desegregation of the military to start its process.
Gotta
So if you see so if you see a black soldier, it's because a gay communist who was also black told him to do it.
Yay!
Yeah.
Black fighters. I
At
mean,
least that's how
sorry,
roles go.
black gay fighter. I was about to say the F slur. Oopsie daisy.
Well, also Bayard Rustin. I also guess so. I couldn't back this up. I couldn't confirm it, but apparently Bayard Rustin met with the Tuskegee Airmen and christened one of their fighters. This is completely unconfirmed. I cannot find it in any diaries. I can't even find the plane. And the plane that he christened on two different accounts is a different plane. One of which isn't even a P-51D. It's a P-51C with a different number in a different division that had already been shot down. So I'm working on that, but for this episode, it wasn't important. Um, Rustin faced a lot of criticism in his movements. Obviously, we'll see some videos tonight, but a lot of civil rights leaders didn't want to put him in the spotlight because he was gay. His sexuality is constantly brought up by other people as far as his roles. So they were happy for him organizing stuff, of which he had, he had a mind for organizing. They just didn't want him front and center because he's gay. That's really the biggest hang up people.
Sorry, your sexuality is bad optics. We can't do it.
Yeah, you smoke pole, therefore you gotta go. But him pissing off the Madison Society actually gave him a lot of weight with the black community. And that's actually what started getting their support. Yeah.
Those white. Good job, buddy. You're really one of us.
Bayard Rustin was a close friend to Huey Newton towards the latter half of his life. Didn't believe in the political violence, again, really hardcore in pacifism. But they wrote back and forth, and basically, it is hypothesized that Ralston had a large influence over Newton. I've read some of Newton's work, not as much as Malcolm X. I don't see it. There's just not much about Huey Newton that rings true to me that also rings true in Bayard Rustin. Sorry. Famously, Bayard Rustin, on top of being a socialist and other things, was against affirmative action and mandatory minimums.
Really?
Yeah, so this is towards the end of his life. We start seeing his neoconservative values come out. So he spoke against affirmative action as he akin it to soft racism. Quote, affirmative action holds back black people.
Oh my god, he did that. That's
yeah.
the talking point that I keep on hearing.
He's the originator of it.
Oh my god, that makes a lot of sense. That's disgusting.
Yeah. Affirmative action holds back black people and states they are unable to get ahead without forced interference from whites. It holds that whites must give up theirs to make space for us. If this system comes to pass, we will always be at the mercy of the white man and their attempts to rehabilitate their past injustices. We will be in the debt to a soft racism of the white liberal when it is class that holds us all down unequivocally, not race. 1967, Bayard Rustin.
Jesus Christ, he's too stupid to realize it's both.
Well, so I can kind of see his point here, to be real. I can see how affirmative action and a lot of racist policies or like promote black people in business were very much not done because white people felt like, hey, this is the right thing to do, rather that, hey, we don't want to be accused as racism, so let's do the soft racism of low expectations to give black people positions to rehabilitate our image. I do agree with that. That white liberals use affirmative action to rehabilitate their image.
It'd be like that sometimes. White libs got a white lib, you know.
Everything else is bullshit. Other famous quotes include, "People will never fight for your freedom if you have not given evidence that you are prepared to fight for it yourself." 1952, he said that. Now, famously, you might remember a quote by Dr. King that was along similar lines.
Can't remember exactly what it was, but it does sound familiar.
Yeah. Well, Dr. King is kind of famous for being a bit fast and loose with the rules of plagiarism. Another fun quote: "If we desire a society without discrimination, then we must not discriminate against anyone in the process of building this society. If we desire a society that is democratic, then democracy must become a means as well as an end."
True, actually.
Little closer to that neoconservative value, but you can kind of see how I mean, by today's standards, Bayard Rustin would be either, if not called a class reductionist, an Uncle Tom by a large
Yeah.
segment of the online left.
Yeah, I
Okay.
And
could see that.
famously and finally, there are three ways in which one can deal with injustice. A, one can accept it without protest. B, one can seek to avoid it. C, one can resist the injustice non-violently. To accept it is to perpetuate it.
Well, yes.
There's also a third one. One can fight back against injustice, but then I remember that Bayard Rustin is a devout pacifist, so
What?
fuck me.
Oh, that's right.
Oh
That's right.
yeah.
That's right. That's right. That's right. I think you mentioned that earlier on.
Yeah, he
Oh
needs to stop being pacifist.
we have so also famously towards the end of his life. I referenced Ronald Reagan, right?
Yeah.
So people say the tragedy of Bayard Rustin is that he basically gets written out because he's gay. Well, that's not 100% true. At the time, many black people considered his receiving an ovation from Ronald Reagan because Ronald Reagan actively said he was one of the greatest political activists.
Thank you.
Thank you. One of the greatest political activists he'd ever met. Keep in mind, this is during both the AIDS crisis starting up and gay liberation, and basically Ronald Reagan's like, "Hey, hello, my friends. See, I found myself a black man who's both a pacifist, a former communist, and a fudge packer, and he agrees with me. Therefore, I'm not racist."
Check out my African American over there.
Quite literally. In fact,
He literally did that.
I think he is like the black friend with which that I can't be like Ronald Reagan. I can't be racist. I have a black friend. The black friend is Bayard Rustin.
I have a black friend. Black friend is Eldridge Cleaver.
Yeah. So later on, Rustin would go on to support capitalist invasions of countries by quoting that if countries are tied to us economically, they will be less likely to attack us. That in order to be workers of the world, we must be corporations of the world or movements of the world. And really, towards the end of his years, starting to sell off a lot of his like speaking positions as, "Hi, I'm Bayard Rustin. I helped organize the March for Washington," and then rubbing his fingers together.
Hey, I'm
So,
trustworthy.
yeah.
You can help me. You can trust me. I can do nothing. I can do nothing wrong. Look at all the good I've done.
So what we have here is a former communist turncoat, former desegregation, or former military interventionalist turned pacifist, former civil rights leader turned neocon, and former desegregationist and civil rights activist turned capitalist talking point for invasions for McDonald's and Coca-Cola to invade Cambodia.
Oh, how the mighty have fallen.
Oh, how the Maori have performed exactly as they meant to since time immemorial.
Well, you know.
This is also why Rustin has been kind of considered the perpetual outsider. You know, in the 30s and 40s, he was a communist. In the 50s and 70s, he was a civil rights organizer. In the 70s to 80s, he was a neocon and a gay rights organizer and a pacifist all the while. Like, yeah, you can kind of see where it's not just him who's been, it's not just other people that have kind of made him an outsider. It's his own actions. So, I'm going to share my screen, and I have a couple of videos to bring up.
Wonderful.
And this is just, yeah, these are just real quick. They're only about a minute or two, but we have a video of a dramatization that, from what I understand, according to Martin Luther King's wife's diary, as well as people who were there and insiders in that inner circle, is fairly true to form on Rustin Baynard, or Bayard Rustin. And then I don't know why I keep saying Rustin Baynard.
Rustin
I don't know
Baynard.
what.
That's funny.
It's just because Rustin to me is like a first name. I also don't know if it's Bayard or Baird, but whatever. We
Beard.
also have a video of Bayard Rustin arguing, or sorry, debating Malcolm X.
Hmm. Well, this would be
So,
interesting. Which one?
just
Which
zoom
one would
in
be?
the
Which one
screen.
is the base one in this scenario? Say what you want about Malcolm X, but I say the likelihood that Malcolm X is
It's
the base one
just
is more.
it's just the opening statements. If you want to see the video, go to YouTube and find it. Link it down there. But We might have to stop making BS to do this.
See Dr. King.
Nelson, who is it?
Good evening, Mrs. King. Bayard Rustin.
Bayard Rustin.
Excuse me.
Well, if Bayard Rustin is here, then I guess we've arrived.
Dr. King. I'm gonna be blunt. You're straying from the principles of nonviolence.
In what way?
You're the leader of a nonviolent movement. And yet you have guns in your home and these armed guards outside.
Let me ask you something, Mr. Rustin. Would you risk your family for a tactic?
Nonviolence is not a tactic.
Would you risk your family?
Nonviolence is an ideology.
I have
It's
an
a movement,
obligation
a way
to
of
protect my
life.
family and
It's a
defend my
religion.
home.
Well, the guns don't make me feel any safer.
So at this point in time of this movie, also that is, I think it's Jordan Peele is playing MLK. At the point in time of this movie is taking place, when this meeting's happening, Bayard Rustin has been in the Freedom Riders, which, fun fact, Rosa Parks was up the first person to have a protest done because she would not move to the back of a bus. One of Bayard Rustin's people that started the Freedom Riders point, but Rosa Parks just has the name recognition, so they go with it.
It's like that.
At this point in time, yeah, Bayard Rustin had a huge, was arguably a bigger civil rights organizer than Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King was mainly regulated to the South and mainly among the Christian conservative movement at this time. So the fact that Bayard Rustin jumped in behind him towards the early part of his civil rights career was a really big thing. But you can kind of see there how he's so, like, you're meeting with Dr. King, this big leader who's starting to unify the civil rights movement and starting to bring a lot more people and starting to have a lot more power in the movement, arguably becoming the face. And you're bitching about the fact the guy has armed guards out front when by this point in time, Martin Luther King has already had several run-ins with the Klan.
Yeah, unsurprisingly.
But you can hear his statement. Pacifism is not it's not a tactic. It's an obligation. It's a way of life. It's a religion. Who else? Who else do we
Yes.
know of generally who has that sentiment when it comes to activism?
Gandhi.
Yep.
Yeah,
I was
Gandhi.
gonna say white liberals.
I was about to say that, but like I didn't know a general term to go with it. But yeah, you're right. 100% white liberals.
All the pasties that come up to me and say, "Oh, you're angry. You're too violent. You guys are too like in your face interface, guys. Just vote and be pacifistic and be like, it's okay if the Republicans want to basically start a trans genocide, y'all. Punching them just makes you a Nazi. If you punch the Nazi, you're just as bad as the Nazi."
Have you ever considered yourself?
Well, that's once again that sentiment comes from Bayard Rustin, which is also why he was so essential to the neoconservative movement.
Well,
Bayard Rustin basically made the white liberal.
he invented it.
Wow.
My man invented the white liberal with his both identities, no less.
So now we're gonna watch, because I said that he basically invented the white liberal. When Malcolm X makes his famous, there's no one more devious than the white liberal. The biggest hindrance to the black man's cause is the white liberal.
True. Well, one of them actually.
Bayard Rustin takes umbrage at this and decides to challenge Malcolm X to a debate. I'm just going to play the opening statements here. If you want to, again, description down below, you can go check it out. It's on a channel called Brother Outsider. But this is famously televised, and, well, real quick question. Which way do you two think the audience leaned going into the debate, and who do you think they bet on coming out of the debate?
Probably not Malcolm X.
Probably Malcolm X. But I think
Going in or coming out?
Going in.
Okay.
What audience actually? Like the just 100% general audience?
Yeah, the general audience, because it was noted. They asked people who they supported going in, and who they felt made better cases coming out.
Well, if it's mostly white liberals, then you know, You know.
Rustin in, Rustin out.
Yep.
Okay. So I'll play the arguments and then I'll tell you what the final results were. Oh, goddammit.
The problem can never be stated in terms of black and white. And any movement which begins by blotting out the active cooperation of the best minds, many of which are white as well as black, is fighting a losing battle.
South Africa doesn't preach freedom. Russia doesn't call itself the leader of the free world. It's America that looks upon herself and represents herself as the leader of the free world while she has 20 million black people here who aren't even citizens. It is for this reason that America is doomed, and it is for this reason that we who follow the Honorable Elijah Muhammad feel that our only hope is not integration with a doomed society, but complete separation from a doomed society.
Who do we? Yeah, I asked. So who do we think the audience supported going in? Who do you think had the upper hand going into the debate?
I think Malcolm X had the most popularity around the time, didn't he?
I don't know. I'm just asking you. I know what the answer is, so I.
Oh, you do? You know what the answer is?
Yeah, I looked it up. So
I'm forgetting the dude's name now because my brain is bad.
Bayard Rustin and Malcolm X.
Rustin. I think they went in like rooting for Rustin and then came out with Malcolm X.
Okay, Twisty. Callum, what do you think?
I think the same.
Okay, so you're not wrong. Pretty much, the people going in for Rustin, who pretty much, so if they were for Rustin, the vast majority of people, because when they did the production, the kayfabe for this, they basically said Rustin Bayard, famous civil rights activist, walked with Martin Luther King, and as you saw in that audience, there was a few black men cycled in there, but mostly white men. It was a community church. There was a fair amount of academics. So most academics going in were like, yeah, he marched with King, organized with King. We're gonna support him because he's MLK's guy, and MLK had a fractured relationship with Malcolm X. Coming out, most people were like, goddamn, Banner doesn't know shit, and Malcolm's the only decent person in there. And then alternatively, people who went in supporting Malcolm X came out and were like, yeah, that just reinforced my position. Virtually nobody came out of this being like, I'm in Bayard's corner. And this is for two reasons. Number one, Malcolm X specified, as you saw in the opening statements, separation of the black culture and the black identity from white people. Now, to a bunch of stuffy white academics and white racists, what does that translate to?
It likes that's more segregation.
Right.
And that's something that they like.
Them. The second point was, well, I'll let you guess. What do you all think the second reason why most people didn't support Bayard Rustin after Malcolm X talk?
Probably because they're racist.
Racist, okay. Callum, what do you think?
Racist.
It's because he was gay.
What? Really?
During this debate, they will make a reference to Bayard Rustin being gay, and that pretty much because once again, most white racists and white bigots will be like, you know what, that person may be a dog, but at least they don't pack fudge.
That's amazing.
Yeah, about that was a big point that was made. Basically, Bayard Rustin gets castigated for being gay.
No wonder homophobia was so cool. Well, still is kind of cool in the black community. Jesus Christ!
This is 1962 too, so like this is way before any of the queer movements are up and functional. But yeah, at one point in time, it's mentioned. Now it is not mentioned by Malcolm X. Malcolm X, on several occasions in his diaries that I've read on the subject, Malcolm X really doesn't seem to care that Bayard Rustin is gay. Of course, that's also because Malcolm X kind of probably was a little bit gay.
Probably.
I think he was. I do believe he was a closeted homosexual. But if not that, then bisexual.
Well, then that's probably why he left the Nation of Islam.
Yeah, but also Malcolm X the whole time is very strict and to the point. Now the communism thing is interesting because Bayard Rustin's communism is brought up in that debate, but he doesn't really defend it. He constantly shifts position to I'm a socialist, and this is kind of, according to the audience and according to some reports, was kind of seen as shifty. Like you were a communist and you basically caused the desegregation of the military-industrial complex when you were a communist, but now that it's no longer like in vogue and you were at the McCarthy trials, you're a socialist now. Whereas Malcolm X is like, hell yeah, I've gone to communist Russia. Ain't nobody there called me the N-word.
Oh,
So that I think it's partially because Malcolm X is true in his beliefs, and Bayard Rustin is really trying to quote this what we would now consider class reductionist position. And
yeah,
when you're in a room full of stuffy bigots and racists, the only thing they hate worse than gay people and communists is the richest having to associate with the poor.
true.
Mhm.
Why they still divided amongst themselves? Or white people were still basically just white N words.
So Bayard Rustin would go on, not to downplay his movements, but I want to ask you two, our little, and as we just close out this show here, what do you kind of think about Bayard Rustin thus far with what you've seen and what you've heard about him? I mean, do you think he was, just a different approach to a complicated movement, or do you think that he was going off the deep end, or what are your kind of thoughts on him?
um,
I wish you were more violent.
he
Pacifism never solved anything.
he could have been great. But that's the way it is with a lot of like these movements and a lot of figures even, which I'll get into it later, which is why I'm vehemently against the whole like leader thing. Just having leaders and like prominent people being like the face of a movement is just really bad because there's nothing stopping them from falling from grace, and even then they have their own kinks. There's just like they were never all that great to begin with, but the thing they did was actually really good. Or for this case, it
Um,
is a fall from grace almost, but a natural fall from grace.
so I mean, I'm pretty anti-war. Now, granted,
Very.
in my political activism group, I make a very specific point that all the people under my watch are required to go to our group's self defense courses and be just as militarily available as our security division. And the reason why is that in my division of the political group that I run, I explained to my claw that um while nonviolence should be our first and foremost position, you should always maintain the ability to defend yourself. Because
Yeah.
activism is mismatched.
100% I agree with that. I wish more
Yeah, I
people would have that little happy medium.
Very much my position is we will not shoot first, but we will sure as shit shoot last.
Yeah.
Um,
Or I will shoot first if I feel like you're about to pull out your gun, to be
no,
honest with you. If I see you, you know what I mean. If you display the willingness to start shooting, then I might have to,
So
you
I've
know.
gone. I mean, we've gone toe to toe with the Proud Boys. We've gone toe to toe with bigots. We've gone toe to toe with actual Nazis. I mean, armband sporting Nazis. And as I told the divisions under my guard, I explained to them that you will not take one step forward. You will not push back against them. You will sit there and take their abuse. As soon as they swing a fist, the level of violence you need to be able to bring forth should be so overwhelming that a single strike from one of you should be able to cur the crowd. This is to say, as soon as you are struck, disproportionate violence of one so that the entire group knows what awaits the rest. Now, that being said, I also have a three strikes rule. I don't think you get the first hit for free. I think you get the first three hits for free. After the first three hits, I feel you're legally obligated to throw back. So I am very much anti-war in that respect. But even I find Bayard Rustin to be way too pacifistic in his means. I also, as a communist, find him to be very much a traitor of the initiative under the guards in which he left. If the Communist Party was failing him in the 1920s because they were just milking him for money as it was happening in Europe or in England, I can understand it. But you left the Communist Party because they pulled resources to help the motherland during the invasion of the Third Reich. I'm sorry, but I think, like, no offense, in the long list of, like, shit we should probably focus priority on, Nazis.
Yeah.
Nazis.
Yep.
So,
Killing
and that,
Nazis.
if it was like Russia's pulling support of the Communist Party because of the Winter War, then yeah, I would totally understand that. But, like, Nazis gotta take priority. However, I still think Bayard Rustin was a good guy. I think he had a right mind. I think he was a good activist leader, and I think he is a person that a lot of people should look up to. I also just feel that he was a flawed human being.
Oh. Oh, even the funny thing is that MLK wasn't even like nearly that pacifistic when you think about it.
No.
Like his whole ideology was like, well, it wasn't even like just pacifism. It was just nonviolence.
Mm-hmm.
And like,
Well,
there's a difference between like nonviolence and pacifism.
And if you think about it, it was only really non-combative violence because I mean, arguably, like Selma is a perfect example. Selma is very much unmitigated violence against the people, but like King actively, the food counter riots and the pool riots. Those were very much King finding like openly looking for pools that were saying no to desegregation and actively wanting to pick a fight. So now, granted, while that's a great idea for activism because it points out the hypocrisy, it is a form of violence. You are intentionally looking. You're going there looking for the fight.
Pretty much.
So yeah, and that's what Rustin chastises him for. Hey, you're stepping away from pacifism. Also, a lot of people do actually conflate Rustin's pacifistic bent with King, kind of amalgamating the two into one person to push that pacifistic route. So when people say, like, conservatives say King was a pacifist, in a lot of cases, what they're actually quoting is the same arguments that Bayard Rustin made, which again opens him up to the argument that he was a neocon or that it was neoconservatism, because a lot of the conservative arguments in favor of Martin Luther King's mythology come from what Rustin did. So, like, I mean, Steven Crowder has straight up quoted Bayard Rustin on nonviolence and said it was Dr. King's quote.
Are you serious? That's amazing.
Also, on top of this, Bayard Rustin, outside of that Martin Luther King movie, really doesn't have any movies about him. Michelle and former President Barack Obama have either it's a production company or a filmmaking company called, and I'm not shitting you here, Higher Ground Studios.
What?
Barack, I voted for you. I really did believe in what you said, but this higher ground shit, like, now that I'm older and have some voting under my time and I'm now a union man, your higher ground bullshit.
Higher ground, my.
Dude, I mean, Barack Obama, like, literally reached across the aisle so far. The Republicans tore his arm off and zombies consumed it. And so much of his policies are Republican policies by today's standards. Like, at this point in time, I'm just kind of like, you know what? As a teenager, I really did believe in what he had to say. As I've grown older, I've been like, man, Obama just ain't far enough to the left.
He never was. Just never was.
I argue he was left of center. I argue he was
he was left of center, but like he was never,
true left.
He was me. He was basically who I was before 2020.
So that's all I got for tonight, guys. Any closing thoughts?
Strong pacifism is unproductive ideologically. Just completely unproductive.
Likewise, yeah.
It's politically
Don't be
stagnant.
A strong pacifist.
Don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, at some point in time, you will have to defend your. At the very least, you will have to be able to have the capacity to defend yourself. But
there's nothing wrong with that. Hell, if you're a Christian, God endorsed that.
Physician, heal thyself. Sometimes you have to put on the gas mask or put on the air mask when the plane's crashing before you can help someone else out. All right, that's all we got for tonight, guys. Have a good night. Check out our Patreon. Check out Twisty's channel. Check out Twisty's art. Check out Callan's channel and their social media. Engage with them on Twitter. My YouTube channel will be up. I have some videos going up soon. I'm going to go back to doing some gameplay footage. And hopefully in the future, me and Twisty will be doing a Gears of War playthrough of all the videos. I have a charity in mind for that. That would be willing to sponsor that video. So if you want to give to some charity, get some taxable donations before April, I'm looking into getting that for our patrons. Oh, also, surprise news for everybody. I forgot. This year, we have secured interviews with Henrietta Lacks's granddaughter for the Henrietta Lacks episode. She's agreed to an interview. We potentially will bring her on for an episode on the Henrietta Lacks case. Jesse Gender, famous YouTube partner, YouTube columnist, journalist, activist, and trans icon, and Trekkie, has agreed to come on for an interview with us as soon as I send her the deets. Her and J.K. Rowling are having out right now, so go over and give her some love. She really likes our work. She's proud of what we're doing and wants to move forward with it, so we'll be doing an interview with that. And I'm talking with Charlie Zero something penguin dude, Moist Critical. He is interested in doing an interview with us.
Moist Critical, that's interesting.
Yeah, we're going to do one on Moist Critical. I also have secured the Amazing Atheist for an interview.
Really?
Yep, TJ's a personal friend of mine. And we might also be seeing Thought Slime coming onto our show. So, we got some big names coming towards us in the coming years. Thought we might share that. It just popped up on my phone. So, look forward to that. But outside of that, I think we'll say good night and good luck.
Good night.
Good night.